Do you have any tips for students when they're starting to think about who should write their letter of recommendation?
Yeah, great question. And you're totally right. I mean, the essay, they get a good sense of who you think you are as a person, which is very valuable in a test optional age where tests at most of these schools are no longer required. But as a quick aside, still very important. But the tests are, I mean, excuse me, these essays, the story of your life from your lens, your viewpoint, really critical. But what other people think about you is the other side of that coin, that picture they're trying to create of what the kind of person they're going to bring to their campus. Your guidance counselor, is required to write a letter of recommendation. And I always tell people, especially if I get to work with them at a younger age, make sure you get to know your guidance counselor, bring them some coffee every once in a while, make sure they know who you are, because guidance counselors do a great job, but they often have hundreds of students and you want to be able to make sure they remember who you are. And if you don't have a chance to build that relationship, I always advise sending them an email before you head home for the summer, before 12th grade, to just kind of tell them a little bit more about yourself. You're not telling them what to write, but just help them fill in the blanks. It's something I help students with. But in terms of picking the teachers, because many schools will require two different teachers, some just one. And there's often the opportunity to even add an additional third optional reference. The first thing I always tell people, James, because it's really easy to overthink this, is, hey, who's going to write me a good letter, right? You can overthink it and think, oh, it should be this category. Let's just make sure, first of all, this is someone we like and that we have a good relationship with, because you want it to be a positive letter. That's probably should go without saying, but sometimes people can overthink it. The second thing that I always tell folks is you want this to be teachers that have taught you recently, and preferably in the second half of high school. So if I'm working with an 11th grader, we're usually talking about someone they're taking a class from right now. It's not that you should rule out a 10th grade teacher, but in terms of a 9th grade teacher, by the time you apply to college, that's ancient history for a teenager. That's a long time ago. And usually the courses are not as demanding as the ones you're taking in 11th grade. So you get the benefit of the recency of the evaluation and the fact that you're taking, in all likelihood, a tougher course. Some universities would prefer that you have someone on the math and science side and someone on the humanities, social sciences side. That's kind of depending on the list of schools, that may not be necessary at all. And so I also encourage people to think about, okay, if I'm thinking I want to study computer science in college, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do that. And it's a technical school or an engineering school that really does not require a humanities or social science teacher. Let's pick a math teacher and a computer science teacher. Let's pick someone that can speak well of your abilities in that subject. So there's not a general rule on the academic subject, because it does depend on the schools you're applying to. But starting with, they like me, I like them, recent, and then we start looking at like the areas that you're strong in and that you're probably going to want to study in college.